Good morning. Today we're going to go over multi-view sketches. We're going to create a multi-view sketch of these three objects. Now, the point of a multi-view sketch is to take an object or an image of an object, split it up into its individual faces so that you can show or see all of its features. You should be able to hand anyone your multi-view sketch. They should be able to design it or create your object based off of that sketch. So these need to be clear, they need to be clean and easily readable. Real quick, some vocabulary we should go over. So the entire sketch here we're going to call multi-view sketch. The three-dimensional sketch of the object, we're going to call that an isometric. In general, for now, we're just going to call this view our front view. This is the top view. The top view is on top of the front view. The right view is to the right of the front view. Now this drawing consists of a couple different lines. You can see the object is sketched out with solid lines. We're just going to call those object lines. There's also hidden lines. Hidden lines represent seams or cracks or features of the object that we cannot see. This is an example of that. It's just a dashed line. I'll draw it a little bigger so you can see it. We would draw dashed lines where they're all about the same size, equally spaced out when we're showing what's called hidden lines. And if you don't know what that is, you'll find out. Next, we need to talk about center lines. Anytime you have a circle in your object, in this case, for example, we don't, but let's say we had a circle here, we would need to add a center line. We need to show exactly where the center of that circle is. To do that, you start by putting a little plus sign right in the middle of your circle. Now the rest of the center line is going to go long, short, long, short, long, short, long, short. Currently the little plus sign is our short length, so we're going to go long, short from there. That's what we would call a center line. Lastly, you're also going to notice there are some dashed lines in between the views. Those aren't necessary. When you're just starting off, I'm going to say go ahead and draw them. Those are our guidelines. They help make sure that our views line up. We're going to start with this shape right here. So I'm going to get rid of these guys. And our multi-view sketch is actually going to start with an isometric. So that is just drawing this object as you see it now. You're drawing the object in its 3D form. Now you're going to split your paper up into about 4 sections. You're going to put a shape here, a shape here, a shape here, and a shape here. In the top right-hand portion of your multi-view sketch, you're going to draw that isometric. Now let's see what we can do here. That's not too bad. We're going to call that good enough. Once you have our isometric drawn, we need to figure out what our front view is. The front view is going to go in the bottom left-hand portion of our multi-view sketch, and the front view should show you the most information about the object. So we have a couple different options here. We can either call this the front view. We could call this the front view, or we could call this the front view. Now, just looking at this view, this just looks like a rectangle. That doesn't tell me hardly anything about this shape. If we look at it from the other option, again, this just kind of looks like a rectangle with squares on it. And I don't know what this shape looks like, but from this view, I know it's roughly a U shape. Now, I don't know what this side or this side looks like, but in general, I know a lot about this object from this view. So we're going to make this our front view. Now, I should mention our front view, and our top view, and our right view, which we'll get to, they're all 2D sketches. So it kind of looks like this is a little 3D. I'm telling you not to make this 3D. This should just be a purely 2D sketch. So don't even be tempted to draw extra lines in here. You're just drawing a U shape. And again, our front view goes like diagonally or in the bottom left-hand portion of our multi-view sketch. Make sure these lines are nice and clean. Now, again, just know we're going to be drawing stuff above this and to the right of it, so make sure you're not going to run into your isometric or anything else. Give yourself lots of space here. Now that we have established or set this as our front view, it does matter what our top view and our right view look like. We don't get to just make any decision here. We have to draw what this shape looks like for now, the top part. The top part is obviously like a bird's eye view looking down from the object. Now if you use Tinkercad, if you orient your shape correctly, so like this is the front, it says front right here, you can actually just use this cube up here and click top, and that's what it looks like. Now again, this looks kind of 3D because it is. We're in 3D mode right here, but we're not going to make it look 3D. And if you want to see exactly what this should look like on a multi-view sketch, you can actually click this button down here on Tinkercad. I'll show you what that looks like. See, just kind of makes it a clear 2D sketch. Now, where are these lines coming from, and do we have to draw them? Answer is yes, we have to draw them. Those lines are coming from, I like to call them seams, right? That this face right here is a lot lower than these two faces. There's a wall right here. We have to show that that is there. So let's draw our top view. Now I like to add what I call guidelines. They are dotted lines that go upwards from either side of your top view. When you're just starting, I'd suggest you do this. Once you know what you're doing, I'd say get rid of them, unless you feel like you really need them. I think they kind of gunk up the sketch. But a guideline is just a dotted line going upwards. Now our top view has to line up, or it has to be just as long as our front view, right? The object isn't getting any longer when we look at it from the top view. We just see it in a different, from a different view. So what does that top view look like? It is a rectangle. Remember, we have to draw those two seams or those two cracks, this line and this line. Now those lines can't just be anywhere. They should line up with our top view. So this line right here should roughly line up with this corner. This line over here should also line up with its corresponding corner. And now we're on to our final view. That is the right view. The right view is just the right side of the front view. So if we looked at this object from the right side, we would just see a rectangle. But there's a problem here. We need to show that there's that crack or that void in the middle of our object, right? There's a hole right here, and we need to show that. So how do we show that, and where exactly is it? On Tinkercad, you can actually turn this object transparent. Click solid, click transparent. We'll look at it from the right side. Click this guy. And I can see there's a line right here. Now on our sketch, it's not going to be a solid line. It's going to be what is called a hidden line, right? Because we can't actually see it from this view, but it's still there. So a hidden line is going to be a dashed line. Again, to make sure our right view lines up with our front view, feel free to add those guidelines. That way your top or your right view isn't like much taller, or it isn't like shifted down from your front view. They're just helpful in that sense. And it is just an upright rectangle. Again, we have to show that there's this seam back here. There's that void, there's that crease. We're not going to draw a solid line because, like, look at it from this side, there's no solid line there. So we draw a hidden line. Hidden line, I have it up there if you can read that. Hidden line should line up with this crack, and it is just dotted or dashed. And that is a perfect multi-view sketch. That is what we want. Later we'll get to dimensioning, but for now, hey, this is good.